Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what am I really doing with my life? Not just the surface level answers, not the job title or the daily routine, but the deeper truth. Why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you keep going when your soul feels tired? What are you actually chasing? Most people never ask these questions. They run on autopilot, day in, day out, stuck in patterns that lead nowhere. They work hard, they stay busy, but deep inside, something feels empty, something feels off. It's because they're missing one thing. Vision, not a goal, not a plan. A vision, that fire in your heart that pulls you forward, even when everything around you is trying to hold you back. Vision is the difference between just surviving and actually living. But here's the truth no one wants to admit: most people don't have one. They've never taken the time to sit in silence to listen to what their soul is trying to say. They've never put pen to paper and said, "This is what I want my life to look like." So instead they drift from one distraction to the next, from job to job, from relationship to relationship, from one half-hearted dream to another. And the years slip by, quietly, invisibly, until one day they look in the mirror and wonder where the time went and who they've become. This isn't about being successful by society's standards. This is about living on purpose, about waking up with clarity, about knowing exactly who you are, what you want, and why you refuse to settle for less. Because without vision, life will choose for you, and life doesn't always choose kindly. It will hand you what's average, what's convenient, what's comfortable, and it will keep you there as long as you let it. You were not born to be ordinary. You were not meant to be another name lost in the crowd. You came into this world with something rare, a unique light, a voice, a fire. But here's the hard truth. If you don't protect that fire, the world will put it out. This is why writing your vision is not just a task. It's a decision, a declaration, a moment where you take your power back. Because writing your vision forces you to confront who you are and who you're not. It strips away the noise, the doubt, the fear, and it reveals what you truly want, even if you've been too scared to say it out loud. When you write it down, it becomes real. It becomes something you can see, touch, fight for. It's no longer some vague feeling in your heart. It's a statement. It's a standard. And once it's on paper, you can't ignore it anymore. And maybe that's what you've been doing all along, ignoring it, telling yourself you'll figure it out later, that now isn't the right time, that you're too busy, too old, too broken, too far gone. But deep down, you know the truth. You've always known. You felt it in quiet moments, in the stillness before sleep, in the ache in your chest when you're doing something that doesn't light you up, in the frustration of watching others rise while you stay stuck. That voice inside you isn't your enemy. It's your guide. And it's telling you something powerful. It's time. Time to stop living small. Time to stop waiting for permission. Time to stop doubting your own potential. It's time to write your vision. Because when you do, something shifts. You stop moving aimlessly. You start walking with intention. You begin to see opportunities where there were only obstacles. You gain a strength you didn't know you had. And here's the reward. Clarity brings freedom. When you're clear on who you are and where you're going, everything changes. You attract what aligns. You let go of what doesn't. You stop entertaining things that don't match the life you're building. That's the power of a written vision. So if you've ever felt lost, if you've ever felt behind, if you've ever questioned your worth or wondered whether your life could be more, let this moment be your turning point. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, because there is a version of you who already knows the way. A version of you who is bold, focused, unstoppable. That version is waiting on the other side of a decision to stop drifting and to start creating. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to be brave enough to say, this is what I want. This is who I am. This is the life I'm choosing to build. Write your vision and don't look back. If you don't decide what your life will be, someone else will, and they won't choose greatness for you. They'll choose convenience, comfort, control. The world is full of systems built to keep you average, jobs that numb your spirit, routines that crush your potential, distractions designed to make you forget your power. But the moment you write your vision, you disrupt that cycle. You make a statement to yourself and the universe: I'm no longer available for less than what I'm meant for. That choice is radical. It's rare. Because the truth is, most people are too afraid to want more. They don't fear failure. They fear responsibility. The responsibility that comes with owning their life. That comes with saying, I'm the author now. I decide where this goes. And that kind of ownership terrifies the masses. So they settle. They settle for what's easy, what's close, what's safe. But ease was never the goal. Comfort was never the point. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't created just to clock in, pay bills, and die quietly. You're here to evolve, to stretch, to build something that leaves a mark. And none of that happens by accident. It only happens by vision. But here's what's even more dangerous than settling: forgetting. Forgetting who you are. Forgetting what you wanted before life got loud, before fear got in your head, before the world convinced you to be realistic. Every time you silence your vision, a part of you fades. Not instantly, slowly, like a light dimming in a room you once loved. That's what settling does. It doesn't kill your dream all at once. It just makes you forget it ever existed. And that's the true tragedy. Not that people fail, but that they never even try. Because when you don't have a vision, you become a passenger. Life drives you. People decide for you. You say yes to things that drain you. You tolerate what breaks you. You stay in places that were never meant for you. Vision gives you the courage to say no, to walk away, to start again, to demand more. Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Because when you know who you are, you stop settling for anything that doesn't reflect that. This is where the shift happens. When you start to value your energy, your time, your peace, more than opinions, approval, or the illusion of safety. Because here's the hard truth. Safety doesn't exist where your soul is dying. You can play small, you can stay hidden, you can do everything right by society's rules, and still feel completely unfulfilled. Success without vision is just noise. Busyness without purpose is just distraction. But when you have vision, your life becomes a weapon. You move with intention. You act with conviction. You attract what matches your mission and release what doesn't. That's the real reward of vision. Not just achieving goals, but becoming someone you're proud of. Someone who wakes up and says, "This is mine. This life is mine." So ask yourself right now, what are you settling for? What job, what relationship, what habit, what belief are you accepting even though it shrinks you, even though it doesn't reflect your potential? And then ask yourself this: what would change if I stopped settling? What would become possible if you gave yourself permission to dream again, to believe again, to write your vision in full detail, with no edits, no apologies, no limits? That version of you, the one who stops making excuses, who starts showing up like it already belongs to them, that version exists. That version is not some future fantasy, it's a decision away. You don't need the full plan. You just need the clarity to stop letting life choose for you. Because every day you don't choose, someone else does. And they don't know your purpose. They don't feel your fire. Only you do. So stop settling. Stop pretending. Stop hiding behind potential. Your vision is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's the compass that brings your life into focus. Without it, you'll always feel off, like something's missing. Because something is missing: you, the real you, the you that chose to rise. And the moment you stop settling, that's when everything begins to change. That's when doors open. That's when energy shifts. That's when momentum builds. Because the universe responds to bold clarity, to people who know what they want and are unapologetic about chasing it. Write your vision. Refuse to settle. Choose yourself, again and again, until the life you see in your mind becomes the life you wake up to. And it all begins with one decision. I'm done accepting less than what I'm here to become. There's a reason your spirit feels restless when you ignore what you're called to do. You can try to silence it, numb it, bury it under distractions and fake smiles, but it always finds a way back. That whisper inside you, that urge for something more, it's not random, it's truth. It's your soul reminding you that you are not made for mediocrity. But here's the thing, without a clear vision, you'll never fully feel that power. Because power needs direction. Fire without focus just burns everything down. But fire with focus, it builds empires. This is why clarity matters. Why writing your vision isn't just a motivational exercise. It's a psychological shift. Because once your mind has a target, it starts eliminating everything that doesn't serve it. That's how the brain works. It's called the reticular activating system. A part of your mind that filters the world based on what you decide to focus on. And the moment you write your vision, you tell your brain, this is important, this is real, find more of this. Suddenly, you start seeing solutions where you once saw roadblocks. You start attracting people who support your growth, not your excuses. You begin aligning your time, your energy, your habits, because your mind is now locked on a purpose. That's the unseen magic behind vision. It reprograms your internal world so that your external world starts to shift. And when that shift begins, everything changes. Your standards rise. Your circle evolves. Your patience for drama, for delay, for anything that doesn't match your future, disappears. Because when you're clear on your vision, you stop entertaining confusion. Most people are overwhelmed not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing too much of the wrong things. Things that don't match their soul. Things that drain instead of build. But clarity is freedom. Clarity simplifies everything. It tells you what matters and what doesn't. It sharpens your focus, it sharpens you. And the best part, you don't need to wait for permission to get clear. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to stop lying to yourself. You already know what's not working. You already know what makes your heart beat faster. You already know the life that would set you on fire. You've just been too afraid to write it down. Because once it's on paper, it's real. And if it's real, you can fail. And if you fail, you have to face the fact that you tried. But here's the truth you need to hear. Not trying is the only real failure. Living in confusion is not safety. It's slow self-destruction. So if you want clarity, stop waiting to feel ready. You won't. Clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from choosing. Choosing to stop tolerating what you've outgrown. Choosing to trust the whisper over the noise. Choosing to move even if the path ahead feels blurry. Because action creates clarity. And writing your vision is the first action. It's the first step out of fog and into focus. That moment where you stop wandering and start building. When you write your vision, you begin to lead yourself. And that's what changes everything. Not external motivation, not other people cheering you on, but the quiet power of someone who has decided to take control. You become dangerous in the best way, because nothing is more powerful than a human being who knows where they're going and refuses to stop. So grab the pen, get brutally honest. What do you really want? Not what's logical, not what's practical. What sets your soul on fire? Write it, see it, claim it, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you. Because fear is not the enemy, it's the compass. The bigger the vision, the louder the fear, and that's how you know you're on the right path. Don't waste another day wondering. Don't waste another moment carrying confusion. Choose clarity. Choose power. Choose to write your life instead of waiting for life to write it for you. Because your vision is not a someday fantasy. It's a now decision, and once you choose it, once you write it, you stop being a dreamer. You become a force. The moment you become a force, the world starts to feel different. It's not because life magically gets easier. It's because you get stronger, focused, unshakable. You're no longer waiting for signs. You become the sign. You stop asking for the path to be clear, and you become the one who clears it. That's what writing your vision does. It creates a version of you that no longer negotiates with weakness. People talk about confidence like it's something you're born with. But confidence doesn't appear out of nowhere. It comes from clarity, from knowing exactly who you are and where you're going. When your vision is locked in, confidence follows like a shadow. It's not loud. It doesn't need to be. It just exists. Solid, rooted, calm. Because now you're not guessing. You're not looking around for direction. You're walking with purpose. And people feel that energy. They don't know what changed, but they notice it. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you no longer explain yourself to people who don't matter. When your vision is clear, you stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop chasing people. You stop seeking approval. You stop bending for things that never deserved your time in the first place. Because you understand something most never do, time is not just passing. It's your life being spent. Every minute wasted on confusion, doubt, or distraction is a minute you'll never get back. And that reality burns. That's why the most dangerous person is the one who's no longer available for their own excuses. The one who sees the price of delay and refuses to pay it again. The one who doesn't just dream but executes. This is not about perfection. It's not about being fearless. It's about becoming relentless. You get one shot at this life, one chance to create something that reflects your truth, one opportunity to rise, to build, to impact. You don't get to rewind. You don't get to start over. All you have is now, and now is everything. So if your vision scares you, good. If it stretches you, even better. If it forces you to outgrow your old self, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Because real growth doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel easy. It demands that you let go of who you were so you can become who you're meant to be. Most people resist that part. They want change without discomfort. They want transformation without sacrifice. But there is no version of greatness that comes without cost. You will have to let go of things: comfort, approval, old habits, old stories, old identities. And yes, it will be hard. But staying stuck is harder. Living a life that doesn't reflect your soul is the heaviest weight you'll ever carry. You weren't born to carry regret. You were born to carry purpose. And your purpose is not hidden. It's buried under the noise of doubt, fear, distractions, and false beliefs. When you write your vision, you start to cut through that noise. You start to see clearly, not just where you're going, but who you must become to get there. That's the real work. Becoming the person your vision requires. It means building discipline when you feel lazy. It means choosing progress over comfort. It means showing up even when no one is clapping. And it means doing it again, and again, and again. Not because it's easy, but because you've decided this matters more. Your future matters more than your fear. Your calling matters more than other people's opinions. Your legacy matters more than your limitations. So don't wait to feel ready. Start. Don't wait for motivation. Move. Don't wait for support. Lead. Write the vision. Then become it. Because the world doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you become. Every action you take is either building the life you want or destroying it. Every choice you make is either casting a vote for the old you or the new you. So choose wisely. Choose boldly. And never forget, this is your one life. Don't spend it watching others live theirs. The vision you write today is the future you walk into tomorrow. Make sure it's worthy of who you are becoming. You can't build a powerful life with a passive mindset. The person who hesitates, who overthinks, who waits for perfect timing, they never lead. They follow. And following a life you didn't choose is the fastest way to kill your spirit. That's why writing your vision isn't just about dreaming. It's a declaration, a promise to yourself that you will no longer live on autopilot, that you will no longer hand your days to distractions, your focus to fear, or your future to chance. This is your blueprint. This is the framework that gives your life weight and direction. Without it, your days blur. You wake up, do the same things, go to bed, and repeat. But deep down you feel it, that haunting question, is this really it? You weren't meant for a life that makes you question your worth. You were meant for one that confirms it. And vision is how you claim that truth. Because when you have vision, you don't waste your energy explaining yourself to people who will never understand your fire. You're not here to convince anyone. You're here to build. The world doesn't reward the hesitant. It rewards the intentional, the ones who take ownership of their time, the ones who don't scroll their life away, who don't let days disappear into busyness with no meaning, the ones who understand that focus is the new freedom. Your vision demands focus. It demands that you protect your mind from everything that weakens your belief, every voice that waters down your goals, every habit that pulls you off course. Because the truth is, most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack clarity. They spend their life chasing things they don't even want, simply because they never took the time to define what actually matters to them. Your vision saves you from that trap. It becomes the filter, the force field. It helps you say no to the unnecessary so you can say yes to the extraordinary. And the more you honor that vision, the more you evolve into the kind of person who commands their life, who doesn't get swayed by trends, noise, or opinions. You begin to carry yourself differently, not with arrogance, but with presence, with intention, with power, and people feel that. They may not understand it, but they recognize it because it's rare. Most people are too distracted, too scattered, too afraid to live with that kind of precision. But not you. Not anymore. You've seen the cost of drifting. You've felt the ache of potential buried under procrastination. You've tasted the regret of knowing you're capable of more and choosing less, and now you've had enough. This is where the line gets drawn. Where the old habits, the small thinking, the quiet settling, it ends. Where you stop waiting and start moving. Writing your vision gives you something most people never have, direction with meaning. Because it's not just about what you want, it's about who you become along the way. When you define your future, you sharpen your identity. You start aligning your actions, your words, your presence with the person you're becoming. And when that alignment happens, doubt disappears. Because your life starts to feel congruent, whole, solid, no more guessing. No more drifting, no more pretending to be okay with less. You are no longer the person who just reacts to life. You are the person who designs it. With clarity, with courage, with conviction. And it all starts with one powerful truth. You have the authority to decide who you are and where you're going, not your past, not your mistakes, not your environment. You. So what are you going to do with that power? Because now you know too much to go back. You've seen what's possible when you stop waiting for your life to change and start changing it yourself. You've felt what it's like to live with vision, to walk with intention, to carry your future like it's already yours. And that feeling, that clarity, that alignment, you never want to lose that again. Because this is what it means to be alive. Not just to exist, but to rise, to lead your life, to write your vision, then walk in it every single day. Not perfectly, not easily, but fully, with your heart on fire, your focus locked in, and your future finally in your hands. Once you take your future into your own hands, something inside you shifts forever. You stop wishing and start working. You stop doubting and start deciding. And every step you take, no matter how small, starts to build something bigger than just success. It builds self-respect. That's the part no one talks about. The real reward of vision isn't just reaching the goal. It's becoming the kind of person who keeps showing up, even when the odds say stop, even when no one sees you, even when it's hard. Because somewhere along the way you realize it's not about the outcome. It's about ownership. Ownership of your energy, ownership of your time, ownership of who you are when no one's watching. And once you taste that, you can never go back to blaming, never go back to waiting, never go back to hoping someone else will fix what you were born to transform. You were not created to live soft, to play small, to stay quiet while your dreams decay in silence. You were built to rise, to take command of your life with both hands, and refuse to let fear dictate your future. Fear will always be there, but so will power, so will truth, so will choice. The question is, who do you listen to? Because every day, the voice in your head is shaping your path. And if you let the wrong voice win, the one that says you're not enough, you'll fail, you should quit, your vision dies a little, not all at once, but slowly. And that slow death of potential, that's what breaks people. Not failure, not rejection, but the quiet daily betrayal of self. You don't need more motivation. You need more honesty. You need to look yourself in the mirror and admit what you've been avoiding. Admit what you've been settling for. Admit how far you've strayed from the life you know you're meant to live. Because until you do, you will keep circling the same patterns. You'll keep watching others rise while you shrink into the background of your own story. But the moment you get real with yourself, everything changes. There is nothing more powerful than a human being who decides they're done betraying their potential. That decision, that line in the sand, is where momentum is born. And once momentum builds, you become unstoppable. Not because the path gets easier, but because you get clearer. You stop letting feelings run the show. You stop letting circumstances decide your pace. You start acting from vision, not emotion. And that is where real transformation begins. Vision gives you the power to override the noise, to wake up with fire, even on the days you don't feel it, to show up with consistency, not because it's convenient, but because it's aligned. This is where power lives, not in hype, not in motivation, but in alignment. Alignment between what you say you want and what you actually do. You can't say you want clarity while feeding your mind with confusion. You can't say you want growth while clinging to comfort. You can't say you want impact while avoiding responsibility. At some point, your actions have to match your vision, or your vision means nothing. And if that truth stings, let it. Let it burn away every excuse, every justification, every delay you've allowed to hold you back. Because excuses may protect your pride, but they poison your future. This is your call to rise, to reconnect with the version of you that's been buried under fear, fatigue, and false beliefs. To remember that you are not here to fit in. You're here to break through the doubt, through the fear, through the noise. You were not given a vision by accident. That fire in your soul, that pull towards something greater, it exists for a reason. And it's not going away, no matter how much you try to ignore it. No matter how long you've delayed, no matter how far you've drifted, your vision is waiting, and the longer you avoid it, the louder the discomfort grows. Not to punish you, but to wake you up, because you still have time. You still have a choice. You still have the power to turn this moment into the beginning of everything. So stop doubting your strength. Stop measuring yourself by past mistakes. Stop handing your future to fear. Stand in it, own it, live it. The vision you write is more than a goal. It's your lifeline back to purpose, back to power, back to you. And when you finally choose it without hesitation, without apology, without compromise, that's the day your life begins to change. For real. Forever. You can't keep walking through life with your head down and expect to rise. You can't keep apologizing for wanting more, for dreaming bigger, for refusing to settle for the bare minimum. You weren't built for a life of quiet frustration. You weren't born to shrink to fit a mold that never saw your true capacity. You were built to stand tall in your calling, to speak life into your goals, to breathe fire into your vision, and refuse to let the world put it out. That's the energy you need to bring every single day. Not once a week, not when it feels easy, every day, because this is the standard now. No more negotiating with your potential, no more playing small to make others comfortable. Comfort is a cage, and if you keep choosing it, you'll keep locking the door on your greatness. You'll keep repeating the same cycles, thinking it's fate, when in reality it's just a lack of discipline. Discipline is love. It's not punishment. It's how you prove to yourself that you are worthy of the life you say you want. It's how you build the character that can handle the weight of your vision. Anyone can write down a dream. Few can carry the responsibility it demands. Because vision without responsibility is delusion. But vision with responsibility? That's unstoppable. That's when the shift happens. When your actions stop serving your comfort and start serving your mission. When you stop choosing what feels good now and start choosing what builds legacy later. It's not about motivation, it's about mastery. Mastery over your mind. Mastery over your focus. Mastery over every moment you feel like quitting and decide to rise instead. That's what builds the momentum no one can take from you. Not opinions, not obstacles, not setbacks. Because when you move from vision, you stop needing the world's validation. You stop waiting for permission to be great. You give it to yourself. And that self-permission, that internal yes, is what separates the few from the many. Because the truth is, most people are not held back by life. They're held back by themselves, by their own thoughts, their own excuses, their own refusal to take full ownership of their time and energy. But not you. Not anymore. You've woken up to what's possible when you stop living for weekends and start living for purpose. When you stop running from the hard things and start chasing the right things. You've realized that your life changes the moment you change. The moment you stop numbing your pain with distractions and start turning it into fuel. The moment you stop being scared of failure and start being terrified of regret. The moment you stop playing the victim and start stepping into victory, even if it's messy, even if it's slow, even if no one claps. Because real growth doesn't always feel good. It's uncomfortable. It's isolating. It's hard. But it's also the most honest expression of who you really are beneath the noise. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You just need to move, to commit, to keep showing up with hunger in your eyes and fire in your chest. Because that's how you win, not all at once, but moment by moment, choice by choice. You win when you stay in alignment, not just for a day or a week, but for as long as it takes. You win when you silence the doubts with discipline. You win when you stop looking for quick results and start building deep roots. Deep roots don't show up right away. But they hold you when the storms come. They keep you grounded when distractions pull. They remind you who you are when the world forgets. And those roots? They grow every time you choose your vision over your comfort. Every time you honor your future over your feelings. Every time you take a step, especially when you don't feel like it. That's what greatness is. Not talent, not luck, not hype. It's choosing your mission when your mind tells you to quit. It's choosing your discipline when your body says rest. It's choosing your standards when the world says settle. You're not here to survive. You're here to build. Build a life that means something. Build habits that sharpen you. Build a mindset that won't break when life gets loud. And you build all of that by staying faithful to your vision, especially when it's hard. You've come too far to forget who you are. Too far to back down now. Too far to play it safe when everything in you was born to rise. So hold that vision close. Write it. Speak it. Live it. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs people who move with clarity. People who refuse to let fear write their story. People like you. Nothing is more dangerous than a person who has finally decided they're done living below their potential. When that decision is made, it breaks every lie, every limitation, every excuse that once had power. Because now, you see through it. You see what you were really doing, waiting for a sign, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for someone to save you from the responsibility of becoming who you're meant to be. But no one is coming, and strangely enough, that's the most freeing truth you'll ever face. You don't need anyone to give you permission to change your life. You've had the power all along. It was never out there. It's been buried beneath your fears, behind your doubts, under the weight of your past. But now the fog is lifting. Now you're starting to remember who you are and what you carry. And once you remember, it's impossible to forget. You can't unknow your strength. You can't unsee your worth. You can't go back to pretending that comfort is enough when your soul is craving impact. That craving, it's not just ambition. It's alignment. It's the inner wisdom that knows you were born to rise higher, do more, become more. Not for the applause, not for the recognition, but because your life matters. Because you have a responsibility to show up fully while you still have time. Time, the most precious thing you'll ever own. And yet so many waste it waiting to feel ready. But readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. It's a shift in your spirit when you say, I may not have all the answers, but I'm moving anyway. That's what separates dreamers from doers. That's what ignites momentum, action, in the face of uncertainty, or forward motion, even with shaking hands. Because power doesn't show up before the leap, it meets you in the air. That's where most people fall off. They think clarity comes first, but in truth, clarity is earned. It's built through movement, through action, through staying in the game long enough to see what's possible. You don't get stronger by standing still. You grow by showing up when it's uncomfortable, inconvenient, and imperfect. You grow by doing what others refuse to. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is built on discipline. And that discipline is born from desire. Not fleeting inspiration, but deep, unshakable commitment to your vision. It's choosing to live with integrity to your future, even when your present doesn't reflect it yet, especially then. Because that's when character is forged. That's when identity is transformed. And your identity is the foundation of everything. You can't outperform who you believe you are. You will always act in alignment with your self-image. So elevate it. Rewrite the internal narrative. Stop calling yourself lazy, stuck, or broken. That story is expired. Replace it with truth. You are capable. You are resilient. You are in control. And the moment you believe that, everything begins to change. You stop waking up with regret. You stop ending your days with guilt. You start taking ownership, not just of your goals, but of your energy, your focus, your environment. You start protecting your vision like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future is shaped by what you tolerate. Raise the bar. Stop accepting mediocrity. Stop normalizing procrastination. Stop making space for people and habits that drain your fire. If it doesn't align with where you're going, it has no place in your life. This is how leaders are made. Not by waiting to feel powerful, but by acting in alignment with power. Not by chasing results, but by becoming the kind of person who produces them, over and over again, without shortcuts, without apologies, without hesitation, because consistency compounds, and over time it creates an internal revolution. One day you wake up and realize that the gap between who you were and who you're becoming is no longer a dream, it's your reality. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you fought for it. Quietly, daily, relentlessly. You don't need louder goals. You need deeper roots. You don't need more inspiration. You need more alignment. You don't need someone to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself so powerfully that nothing external can shake your direction. That's how you write your vision into existence. You write it with action, with standards, with a level of ownership so deep that the world has no choice but to respond. And when it does, when the results show up, when the breakthrough happens, it won't surprise you. Because you'll know exactly what it cost, and you'll know it was worth every second of the climb. You were never meant to blend in with average. That tension you feel inside, the pull, the restlessness, it's not a flaw, it's a signal, a fire in your bones telling you that you're capable of more. It's your future self trying to wake you up, trying to remind you that you weren't born to just get by. You were born to build something meaningful, to rise above distraction, to create a life that speaks louder than your fears. But nothing changes until you stop betraying your own potential. That happens every time you talk about your dreams but don't back it with discipline. Every time you make promises to yourself and break them behind closed doors. Every time you delay, doubt, or downplay what you know you need to do. You don't need more time. You need more truth. And the truth is, the gap between who you are and who you want to be is filled with choices. Not once, not when it's convenient, but daily. That's the unglamorous side of greatness. No spotlight, no praise. Just you, your vision, and the choice to keep going even when no one's watching. because that's when it counts the most, when it's silent, when it's hard, when your mind is screaming to give up and you answer with relentless focus. That's when you're building the kind of strength no one can see, but everyone will feel. That's the part most people skip. They want results without process, recognition without work, confidence without commitment. But you're different. You're not chasing a fantasy. You're building a foundation. And that takes grit. It takes endurance. It takes the courage to get brutally honest with yourself and say, if I want to live a different life, I have to become a different person. Not just on the outside, on the inside, in your thinking, in your decisions, and the way you carry yourself when nothing seems to be working, because that's when your character is tested, and that character determines everything. It's not what you do once that defines you. It's what you repeat. Repetition is what rewires your brain. It's how you take control of your identity. It's how you stop being a prisoner to your old habits and become the architect of a new standard. That standard is what protects your vision. It's what keeps you grounded when temptation calls. It's what gives your goals roots, not just wings. You can't rise if you keep entertaining what's beneath you. You can't evolve if you keep surrounding yourself with comfort. And you definitely can't lead your life if you keep outsourcing your power to distractions, to other people's opinions, or to the version of you that settled in the past. This is your moment to take it back. Not with noise, not with empty hype, but with unshakable conviction. With a level of focus that says I'm not available for anything that dilutes my purpose. Because purpose isn't soft. It's not a feeling. It's a responsibility. One that demands your energy, your time, your integrity. Every decision either feeds your future or feeds your fear. You have to choose. Do you want ease or do you want elevation? Do you want excuses or do you want execution? Because you can't have both. You're not here to be interested in growth, you're here to be committed to it. That commitment shows up in how you handle resistance. Resistance isn't a wall, it's a mirror. It reveals who you are when things aren't going your way. It reveals whether your vision is rooted in feelings or in truth. If your why is deep enough, no amount of resistance will stop you. It might slow you, it might challenge you, but it won't break you. Because the version of you that breaks is no longer welcome. You've outgrown that identity. You've walked through too much, learned too much, and sacrificed too much to turn back now. There's no room left for half commitment. There's no space for hesitation. You know too much about what's possible to keep living like possibility doesn't exist. So let this be the moment you decide not just to dream but to execute. Not just to want more, but to demand it from yourself. Let this be the moment you align your actions with the person you were always meant to be. Because the truth is, your future is not waiting on the world. It's waiting on you. Every great transformation begins with one powerful decision, to no longer tolerate the gap between your reality and your potential. That decision reshapes everything. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's absolute. It's the quiet, fierce kind of resolve that doesn't beg for approval or applause. It just moves, it just builds, it just becomes. That's where your power lives. Not in hype, but in discipline. In that daily internal agreement with your vision. Not when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. That's when real self-respect is built. Because self-respect isn't about how you talk to yourself. It's about how you treat your own commitments when no one's looking. The way you live becomes your loudest message. You can speak about goals all day, but if your actions betray your words, the world will believe what you do, not what you say. That's why alignment is everything. When your actions match your vision, momentum becomes inevitable. Confidence isn't found, it's earned. It's built through repetition, through showing up again and again until your habits reflect your future, not your past. It's easy to chase motivation, but motivation is a spark. It fades. What you need is fire. Fire is different. Fire is lit by purpose, fed by consistency, and kept alive by belief. Not blind belief, not empty hope, but a grounded, relentless belief in your ability to become who you've never been. That's the hardest part, isn't it? Believing in the version of yourself you haven't seen yet. Holding faith in the unseen. But that's where vision lives. It lives in the future. And if you don't hold that picture with clarity, your present will keep dragging you back into patterns that no longer belong to you. You can't evolve while staying loyal to the old version of yourself. Let it go. Let go of the identity built on limitation. Let go of the story that told you to shrink. Let go of the comfort that robbed you of growth. You don't need to prove anything to the past. You only need to answer to the future. And the future is calling for a higher standard. You already know what you need to do. You've always known. The problem isn't knowing, it's trusting. Trusting yourself enough to begin. Trusting your path enough to stay consistent. Trusting the process enough to stop needing instant validation. We live in a world that chases quick wins. But your legacy won't be built overnight. It'll be built one unseen, uncelebrated choice at a time. Those small choices are sacred. They're the seeds of the life you say you want. And every time you choose alignment over ease, you water that seed. Every time you show up with discipline, you build something invisible that later becomes undeniable. That's how results are created, not in one leap, but in thousands of small, powerful decisions that stack, compound, and transform. This isn't about intensity, it's about integrity. It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself. Because when you do, you don't just build habits, you build identity. You become the person who follows through, the person who leads themselves, the person who no longer negotiates with fear, with distraction, or with the need for comfort. And when that becomes your baseline, everything shifts. You walk differently. You speak with clarity. You stop waiting for permission to be great. You understand that playing small serves no one. It only keeps you trapped in cycles that look safe but feel suffocating. There is no freedom in hiding. There is no peace in settling. Your soul will always know when you're playing beneath your calling. That unrest you feel, that quiet frustration, that's your inner wisdom begging you to move, to shift, to rise. It's not here to torment you. It's here to awaken you. Because the pain of staying the same will always be heavier than the discomfort of growth. At some point, you have to decide that your vision matters more than your fear. That your future deserves more loyalty than your past, that your life is too valuable to live by default. So write it. Write your vision not just on paper, but on your calendar, in your habits, through your decisions. Let every action be a sentence. Let your consistency be the punctuation, and let the life you build be the story that proves what's possible when a person finally decides to show up for themselves with no excuses, no delay, and no exit plan. You are not here to survive the world. You are here to shape it, to stand in your power, to create with intention, to lead yourself so powerfully that nothing external can derail your direction. That is how you build a life that not only looks different, but feels different. And that life? It's waiting for the version of you who stops settling, stops waiting, and starts owning everything, starting now. There is a moment in every journey when something deep inside you snaps, not in weakness, but in awakening. It's the moment you get tired of your own excuses. The moment you realize that wishing, waiting, and wanting have done nothing but delay the life that was always yours to claim. It's the moment where enough becomes enough. And from that moment forward, nothing about you remains the same. Because you finally understand that change doesn't come when life gets easier. It comes when you get stronger. When you decide that you will no longer be a passive observer of your own story. When you stop hoping for a break and instead become the break. The turning point. The catalyst. Everything changes when you take back your authority. You've given too much of it away, to doubt, to fear, to the opinions of people who have no idea what you're capable of, to your past, which no longer deserves to dictate your future. But the beautiful truth is that authority can be reclaimed. The moment you stop apologizing for your ambition, stop hiding from your calling, and stop minimizing your fire, you begin to rise. And when you rise, the world shifts, not because it suddenly becomes easier, but because you become unshakable. This is not about pretending you're not afraid. It's about deciding that fear no longer has the final say. It's not about faking confidence. It's about doing the work that builds real, grounded confidence. Confidence that doesn't crumble when things get hard, because it's been earned in the trenches of your own persistence. You have to stop flirting with your potential and finally commit to it. Half effort won't get you there. Half belief won't carry you through. It demands full presence, full focus, full ownership. That's the price of transformation. That's the price of excellence. Not everyone is willing to pay it, but that's exactly why it's so rare, so powerful, and so worth it. Your habits are your silent builders. They're either constructing the life you want or quietly reinforcing the one you've outgrown. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design. And that design begins in the smallest places, in what you say yes to, what you walk away from, what you allow into your mind, and what you practice behind closed doors. You are not just training your body, you are training your character. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you strengthen your identity. Every time you say no to what tempts you off course, you deepen your purpose. This is the process of becoming. And it's not glamorous, it's not viral. But it is real, and what's real lasts. You don't need more information. You need more intention. You don't need more motivation. You need a standard so high that mediocrity simply doesn't fit into your life anymore. Raise your standard, not for others, for yourself. Set a standard for how you think, how you work, how you show up for your own dreams. One that refuses to settle. One that rejects anything that weakens your direction. Because when your standard rises, your life follows. It doesn't mean you won't fail. It means your failure won't own you. It means you'll get back up not just because you have to, but because quitting no longer matches who you are. It means setbacks become setups. Pain becomes power, and pressure becomes fuel. You've already made it through things that were meant to break you. That resilience, it's proof that you have what it takes. But now, it's time to move from surviving to creating. Creating a life where your energy is protected, your vision is sacred, and your effort is precise, where your actions echo your beliefs, and your beliefs reflect your highest self. You can't wait until you feel ready. Readiness is a lie comfort tells to keep you small. You become ready by starting. You become confident by trying. You become powerful by pushing through every moment that tells you to give up, and doing it anyway. The world doesn't need another dreamer. It needs a doer. Someone whose conviction is louder than their fear. Someone whose life becomes proof of what's possible. So stand up, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Stand up for the future you want, for the vision you wrote, for the life you were meant to live. Stand up for the discipline it takes, for the boundaries it requires, for the fire it demands. You're not here to be perfect. You're here to be powerful. To own your time, your habits, your focus. To write your vision with clarity and live it with boldness. To be the kind of person who doesn't just talk about change, but becomes the change. This is your reminder, not of what you could be, but of what you already are. Now it's time to live like it. Every day you wake up is a new contract with your potential. And the signature it requires is action, not intention, not hope, not promises whispered in your mind that never reach your hands. Action, the only language your future understands. You cannot wish your way to transformation. You must work your way into it. There is no shortcut. No easy road, no bypass around the discomfort of becoming. But inside that discomfort lives your freedom. That resistance you feel, it's the tension between who you are and who you were meant to be. It's the stretch between your habits and your calling. And the only way to ease that tension is to grow into it. Because the truth is, your future is waiting for the version of you who's willing to walk through fire without flinching. Who's willing to rise even when no one is watching. Who's willing to hold the line when quitting feels easier. That version of you isn't mythical. It's not some unreachable ideal. It's already inside you, but it will never come out until you demand it. You don't need another sign. You don't need more approval. What you need is to trust the whisper inside you that keeps asking for more. That whisper is your truth. It's your original voice. Before the world tried to quiet it. Before doubt was planted. Before fear wrapped its hands around your throat and made you question your own greatness. But underneath it all, that voice is still alive, waiting, unbroken. Untouched by failure, unshaken by delay. Your vision was given to you, not by accident, not as a joke, but because you are the one who is meant to bring it to life. And yet so often, we outsource that responsibility. We give it away to distractions, to other people's expectations, to fleeting emotions that rob us of momentum. But vision will not wait forever. At some point, you have to take full custody of your own destiny. Ownership is everything. You don't get to complain about the life you refuse to change. You don't get to envy the results of those who show up while you make excuses. It's time to get brutally honest with yourself. Are your habits a reflection of the life you want or the life you're tolerating? Because your life is always telling you the truth about your discipline. You're not stuck. You're just committed to patterns that no longer serve you. And when you realize that, you get your power back. You realize that your limits were learned, not real. That fear is persuasive, not prophetic. That the chains holding you down were built in your mind and can be broken the same way they were formed, with repeated focus and relentless action. This is the moment you stop trying and start deciding. Trying is passive, deciding is powerful. A decision backed by aligned action will take you farther than years of waiting for the right mood, the perfect moment, or external permission. The only permission you ever needed was the one you give yourself. It's not about being the best. It's about becoming your best. About pushing yourself past who you were yesterday. About running your own race with such ferocity and intention that comparison becomes irrelevant. What someone else is doing is not your standard. Your standard is set by your purpose, and that purpose will never be fulfilled through comfort. There will be days where it's hard. where your motivation is nowhere to be found. That's when your reason has to be louder than your feelings. That's when your commitment has to override your convenience. It's not about never falling. It's about becoming the kind of person who refuses to stay down. You owe it to yourself to see what happens when you don't quit. You've already survived versions of yourself that were lost, uncertain, afraid. Now it's time to live as the version that leads, the version that builds, the version that writes the vision and walks it out with boldness. So draw the line between who you were, who you're becoming, between old patterns and new power, between the life you settled for and the one you're creating now. And when that line is drawn, never cross back. Stand on the edge of everything that scared you and move anyway, not because you're fearless, but because your mission is greater than your fear. That's how legacies are made. That's how lives are changed. That's how visions become reality. It starts with one unwavering decision to live every day like it matters. Because it does. You matter. Your gifts matter. Your future is not a theory. It's a destination. And you are the only one who can take yourself there. So don't wait. Don't stall. Don't dilute your fire to make others comfortable. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to build, to rise, to lead. Let the world adjust to your greatness, not the other way around. The vision is written. Now live it. You have the pen in your hand. The page is still blank, but the weight of what could be is already heavy in the air. This is not just about writing your vision. It's about embodying it, living it, becoming it before the world sees it. The blueprint of your future doesn't begin when others believe in it. It begins when you do. Most people never start, not because they lack talent or time, but because they're waiting to feel ready. But readiness is a myth. No one ever feels completely ready to build a new life. You step forward not in confidence, but in courage. Confidence grows through repetition. Courage is what you use when the outcome is uncertain, when no one is clapping for you yet, and you're still walking forward anyway. That's how movements begin. Quietly, internally, fiercely.